What is up, Retro Maniacs? My name is Mike. His name's Joe. His name's EP, and we're here to talk about cards. You know, our old friend Brian Gray was on the Geoff Wilson Show this week. Geoff interviewed him at the National. Brian can talk a little bit, so Geoff didn't really have much of a chance to ask him anything. But yeah, we watched the video. It was kind of fun. Anytime, whatever you think of Brian Gray, he is who he is, but you cannot say the man is not entertaining. And when he does an interview, it's fun to watch. We watched it, and I picked out a couple talking points here on my paper. Thought we could talk about it. So, the interview, go watch it. It's on the Geoff Wilson channel, Geoff Wilson Show. It's only like a half hour. We'll probably talk longer about it than the actual interview was because, well, that's what we do, right? So
that's our thing.
Okay, so first thing I thought that was interesting was he mentioned that he feels like the National will be moving into bigger and better facilities after Rosemont for the next 3 years. He specifically mentioned Atlanta or Orlando, maybe even Dallas. He said not Vegas because of the unions out there, and they don't want people gambling away their money. So I do see that, although I think Vegas would be great. But, hopefully this will be right. He seems to think the new management behind the National are looking to expand it, go into bigger places. Show was huge this year. A lot of people there. The facility probably wasn't the best to handle it, and talked about too maybe not even being able to get into the one next year or the next 3 years as it is. And I think it'd be great. I think the National really does have to break out of the shell. I agree with him 100% here. I think it should go to the bigger places. It should be held in New York City. It should be held in Orlando. It should be held in Atlanta. I'm hoping that he's right on this one.
Yeah, and he made a really good point. He said it was easier to fly in here from New York because it was right by the airport than it was to drive from downtown.
Yeah,
because you're right there. The IX Center in Cleveland is right by the airport, so you could fly in from New York and probably get a cab or whatever. What do they call them at the airport? Why can't I think? A shuttle.
Shuttle, yeah.
Get a shuttle from the airport to the center easier than it would be from driving, even from our Airbnb, because we got stuck in traffic, horrendously stuck in traffic for a few days. Yeah, I'm with him on this. I mean, he took some drive-bys at Cleveland too, which I fully endorse. I loved each and every one of them.
Fair.
And again, it's not held in Chicago, Mike. You correctly said it's in Rosemont, so it's not really. I mean, it's not in the city. It's not in a great venue. I mean, it's probably a great venue for what they're doing because you need a lot of size for it. But man, I was at Atlanta recently. That city is awesome. Like someplace like Atlanta would just be so cool because Cleveland is not a destination. It's just not. If you live in Cleveland, I apologize for multiple reasons, especially that you have to live in Cleveland. But it is not a destination location. Rosemont is not either. Chicago is. Rosemont is not. So having it in these bigger and better places, I'm all for that. And I don't know, Mike, if Atlanta's a little bit of a longer drive. I don't know if you'd be willing to do it, or maybe you'd hop on a plane with us. But if it was in Atlanta in 5 years and we're still doing this craziness that we're doing, I'm there. I think it would be such a fun time.
100%. I would 100%. Geez, can't talk. I would 100% take a road trip with you guys. 100% to Atlanta. I think that'd be a fun road trip. It'd be a fun place to go visit in general, but also, go to see the card show. I think that'd be great. I think Brian at one point said that there is even a place in like downtown Cleveland that's a bigger venue that they might, if they went back to Cleveland, that they would use that. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I'm pretty sure
he said downtown that. Chicago. I think
downtown
Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which would be like double the amount of available space. Which I mean, sounded like it sounds like he expects that us to get there eventually, just based on the growth from last show to this show. And that's exciting to me. Like I love to see more people coming into the hobby and growing it. And so that's exciting. I also was a little bit excited because it sounds like he has some inside information talking to some of the new group running the shows that we had some concerns that maybe they would stay in the middle of the country every year. If they're doing the Chicago 3 years in a row, that they wouldn't move it around. But it sounds like he's really excited for the potential after these 3 years in Chicago of it moving around all over the country. That excited me as well, because Chicago is a long drive from here. I mean, Cleveland was not a short drive, but Chicago is a long drive from here. So would be interested. I would want it to move around, just not just for us, selfishly for us, but for other people in the country, like anybody along the East Coast. I guess it's going to be tough for them to drive if they're all going to do it in Chicago every year, like, so I feel like the East Coast has a lot. I don't want to say that we're the better collectors or anything like that. Please don't take that out of context. But there's a lot of collectors.
We just
on the
lost
East
our
Coast.
California viewers.
The East
Thanks.
Coast is kind of where I think collecting kind of like started, and like I think that they even mentioned something like that. Like that, this is where the heart of the collecting is. So like I feel like phasing them out.
Shots fired at the West.
No, I don't dislike the West Coast, man. But like the East Coast is kind of like tops. That's where
I apologize to our West Coast viewers. EP is just.
I don't want to yuck your gum, man. I'm sorry.
Right there.
You mean now our West Coast viewer? There's like
Viewer,
one
yeah.
after that.
Thanks a lot, EP.
I love California. What are you talking about? No, I love or Oregon and Seattle. They're all great.
Well, one of the other things he said, this is not likely to happen as long as the current national management is there. But he said, how great would it be if the National and Fanatics Fest took place in the same venue at the same time? Could have all the sports stuff and all the entertainment stuff going on one side and the actual show on the other side of it. Not going to happen. Although, like you said, maybe Fanatics will end up eventually being the people that manage the National. That I could see happening. Like they do everything else. Maybe they will do that. This is less likely to happen, but I'm actually with him. This would be really cool, wouldn't it? Yep. I would love that.
I'd like to. I mean, this is Wednesday, right? So Fanatics Fest is in a couple of days. So I'm curious. I'm going to watch a lot of Fanatics Fest content because I'm really curious on what it's going to be like. So if it makes sense in like just as a thought experiment, yeah, those two things together, buy one ticket, be able to get into certain things over there, certain things over here kind of deal. I think that would be really fun. He mentioned, the whole fan experience. I've mentioned before, I went to the Hall of Fame, the College Football Hall of Fame, and, famously did not do very well with the field goal kicking thing. The video is still hidden. But
we've seen it. Yeah. But
they have the, he talked about bringing in the different trophies and the fan experience stuff, like the combo of that. The one pushback I would give is that what percentage of the people at the National are there? I don't want to call it work because it's silly to say that, but kind of is, if they're flippers, if they're repackers, if they're investors, if they're doing that, how much of them are, are they going to say, or how many of them are going to say, hey, let's take some time off and go have fun at Fanatics Fest. Let's go kick some field goals and run some drills and do a tour of the trophies and stuff like that. I don't know how that would shake out. I don't know. I'm interested. I'm interested to see if they'd be willing to give up that show time to go and do some other stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I think Brian Gray is looking at it from the other perspective, where people who want to go to like a Fanatics Fest type event
to grow the hobby
might want to grow the hobby by coming over, and I think that does make sense. That actually makes a lot of sense. People who would be willing to go and sit for an hour-long conversation with Tom Brady, having a conversation like on a panel or something like that, or going to see anything, and any number of sports panelists that are sports fan like that. Maybe they know about cards, and maybe they collect them when they were kids, but it's something that they're not into now. But maybe they'd take a shot and go over and find a cool card from their childhood or whatever. And that's how I think you could continue to grow the hobby. I do agree that that's a thing. And I agree with you too, Mike. Like, I would love to see this happen. Like, maybe pretty amazing if it would happen. And I won't be surprised. Also, Fanatics found a way to become the national promotional group as well, just because that they could also prove they're already doing with the Fanatics Fest if they probably will. So yeah, I love that talking point with what Brian was talking about here as far as growing the hobby. I think it's a really, really smart idea if they were to do it.
Yeah, I think it would introduce a lot of people who may enjoy card collecting to card collecting. And that is something they need to do to grow the hobby, not just grow the revenue.
And real quick on that point, I wonder how much of that will be already at Fanatics Fest, right? It won't be as big as the National, the card portion of it, but we were told that it will be, there will be a card show component to it. So I'm curious how big that will end up being.
Yeah, and that's the point of this. Like, he feels like if you have the huge card show in conjunction with it, it'll give people access to a lot more,
even more,
just have there. So, this one line that he said here, I just have to point this out, and I'm not doing this because we are speaking pretty positively about Brian today, like, because I think he had a lot of good thoughts and ideas in this interview, but he said something that really, really hit home with me. He said about the hobby in general, the whole thing with Fanatics taking over, they have a new vision. And we've been talking about this since the first episode of the podcast, as we always like to say, but they are different. And people have always done things the same way in this hobby. And now you have people, like them or not, they are doing different things. But he said that people that have been involved in this industry, they don't care about the industry. They're all about their own personal interests. And that is so true. That is such an indictment. Now, keep in mind, he's been part of this hobby for all this time too. So he should really include himself in that.
He did actually.
He did. Yes.
He did. He said that I'm one of those people that have taken and not given.
But it's true. Like that line that people don't care about the industry, they care about their own personal interest. That I think speaks more. This is more true in this little hobby than pretty much any other faction of our world right now.
And to me, you know, as EP was saying, what made it more true was him even taking ownership of that. Like he said, when we were at Leaf, we took more than we gave. And that's every company. And I'm not of the belief that, you know, he talked very glowingly about Fanatics, which made you think that maybe his big announcement might have something to do with them. I don't know. But he spoke
very
glowingly about Fanatics and about Geoff Wilson, which, but you can't say then this industry has been all about, you know, yourself and not caring about the industry, caring about yourself. Fanatics is going to do that too. I mean, I haven't seen it. We just talked about it on Monday, you know, $300 boxes of unlicensed stuff, and it's probably going to be more. So yeah, sure. Maybe that's how the hobby has been. I have no proof that it's not going to continue to be that over the next 20 to 25 years when Fanatics in charge. So I get Brian's point. 100% agree with it. He took ownership of it himself as president of Leaf. What then? Tell me what's going to change, Brian.
I don't.
That's what I. I think even Brian said that, like, the thing is, like, Fanatics is. Oh, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, he said like he didn't have no point to say Fanatics is going to throw money away at this. Just they're approaching it differently, and it seems like their approach, at least so far, is it's different, and it's something that is generating interest. And I think that's the bigger thing is, like, he was looking at it from that perspective. To talk about his announcement quick, that Joe, you're just talking about, him, the way he was talking in this interview, it seemed like it was genuine. Like, I'm interested to see what that announcement is, because of the way he was talking and what he was talking about as far as, like, growing the hobby and, you know, doing whatever. I'm interested to see what that is in the coming weeks whenever it comes out.
And Joe, not fair to make a puking sound talking about Geoff Wilson when we're talking about his video that he had. Come on, give him a little bit.
No, I was making a puking noise. I was making a puking noise about what's one of my favorite lines. We're deep enough into this. What's one of my favorite lines? That circle ain't gonna jerk itself. Those two were patting each other on the back hard the entire 30-minute interview. It was that was the part that was rough to watch for me. I had never seen two people pat each other on the back.
Have you ever seen them before? This is like,
yeah, that's what. Yeah.
It is what it is. One of the other, they were talking at the end about Burbank Cards moving everything over to Fanatics. Brian was talking about eBay as a dinosaur, and, like, we have talked a lot about this on the podcast. Like, that one, I'm like, yeah, he's absolutely 100% right about that. eBay needs to offer more. They could do so much more. Like he was saying, you could click on an item and see what the sales have been if they wanted to. You could give people a lot more information, but we have said it over and over. They're just so happy doing things the way they are. And I hope that Fanatics Collect does grow. I want them to grow because I've been saying forever about, if you have competition, then eBay's going to have to get better. eBay's going to have to give better fees on what you're selling on there. eBay will be better if Fanatics Collect is a viable alternative for people. So yeah, I 100% agree with him here. It bothers me. I've been using eBay since 1997. It hasn't changed a whole lot.
We talk about that all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
Like I have, like all of us, we have firsthand experience using eBay, and I like eBay. I like all the eyeballs it could get on there. I've used it all this time, but that doesn't mean I can't say that, yeah, they need to update some things. It would be really nice if we could do this or do that. And why can't I do this with combined shipping or offer this for people? Like, yeah, they really are. And let's hope Fanatics Collect turns into a real thing.
Or they're going to sit on their hands and they're going to go the way of Panini. I mean, not completely, because they have other sources of revenue. Like cards is not the only thing they do. Yeah, they'll be fine, but they need to, if they want to keep that stranglehold on the card market, they're going to have to do something different. I've been using eBay for, I just looked down, 25 years, and I'm the kid of the group, right? Like you two have definitely been using it longer than I have by a couple of years, I'm sure. So he's completely right about eBay. And he said something that I think we all thought, but I don't know if we vocalized it when we talked about this story about Burbank going over to Fanatics Collect, is that the card father, what's his real name? I'm sorry, Rob
Veras. Yeah.
Rob Veras. He is thinking ahead. He can see around him that eBay is a dinosaur, that Beckett is, what he say, is being propped up by 40 dealers, and that's it. I mean, he can see around him that the future is with Fanatics. I think we all kind of see that, but he is innovating in a way that I think he's going to be leading the way. And Brian Gray
got some cash too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. But he probably got cash from eBay, to be fair. He's just getting more from Fanatics.
Even Brian Gray even called him a partner with eBay. So he's
I'm sure he got some big cash from eBay. But Brian Gray made the point, something to the effect of, too many people are either followers or they do the same thing. And he's someone who sees the writing on the wall and he's willing to take that step, maybe risky, put that in quotes, maybe risky at first, but he'll be ahead of the curve when other people start jumping over to Fanatics Collect.
Yeah. I feel like it's part of my job where, as a journalist, when I hear anybody on any sort of medium, any podcast or video or anything like that, and I hear a sentence that should be that if you were the dinosaur comment, like eBay's a dinosaur. Normally I'd hear something like that, I would cringe, but I just he's correct on that in that regard. So that didn't even register with that radar I have for those kinds of things. I've been on. I just got the email this past week congratulating me on my August 8th, 1999 was when I started. So it was my anniversary for 23 years or whatever it is, for 23 years for being on eBay. They thanked me for all the years being there. But truthfully, there aren't a ton of things that have changed on that website. Just in general, you think about the general design, it is pretty much the same as it's been since I signed up in 1999. You think about any other website that you've gone to since then, they all have had multiple changes, refreshes, that sort of stuff. So just the basic design of the website, it's a huge marketplace. Maybe it messes stuff up, but I would like to think they could do some things, let alone the different features that a lot of other online marketplaces already offer that they're kind of not offering, but they can just sit there and take because they are the leader and there's no competition. So again, PWCC, Fanatics, whatever, Fanatics Marketplace, whatever it is. I'm sorry. Whatever. Yeah.
EP of all people, you should know this.
Yeah, really.
Fanatics Collect. Yeah, please be a thing so we can get some competition out here.
Yeah, eBay optimized for Netscape. So
I
if
used
you're
to
old
love
enough to
Netscape.
get that joke, that's a good
Yeah, I used
joke.
to love Netscape.
I just looked. March 2nd of 1999 is when I
Ah,
joined eBay. So
wow.
that's
All
I'm
right.
97, so I got you guys by 2
oh
years.
yeah,
Yep.
you're
All
the
right,
old
the
man.
last
You're 60.
I clearly am. Last point was, he said the hobby needs to be more welcoming to women. I wanted to save this for last because this is a really big point. Let me point out that he has been part of this hobby for 30 years. So again, you've had a chance to do more before now, and you really haven't. Yeah, I heard Geoff talk about seeing more women. I feel, I don't know how you guys feel, but we were there. I saw women, but I didn't see a lot of women collectors. I saw a lot of moms, I saw a lot of daughters, I saw a lot of girlfriends, but I didn't see a lot of collectors. And that, like, come on, this hobby is a sausage fest. We need to be more inclusive of women. And but people like Brian Gray, who have been, heads of companies and made product and stuff like that, haven't done it before. So, like, kind of rang a little hollow to me that he is at this point saying this now when he's had been in a position where he could have done more about it. We do need to welcome female collectors into this. I don't know how exactly to do it, but first of all, maybe the treatment of the guys at like shows like the National toward women being a little better would be a good place to start, because like I've read stories from people and saw women that posted things and then saw the comments from guys. Like, it's just like the whole mentality, this old boys club that we have here, needs to change. And I'm not sure putting out a product is going to do that. Like, there needs to be a widespread change in the mindset of the hobby. I know I'm ranting here, but it irritates me. It really does. And it's like, again, bother me a little bit that a guy who may have been in a position that could have done more about it before now is the one bringing this up now. Like, he's part of the crusade for it.
This happens everywhere. I've got a great story. I'll tell you guys offline about something very similar. But like, yeah, like it's frustrating to me because it's like the quarterback who threw 6 interceptions and then after the game said, "Ah, the coaching was rough." I mean, you were the one throwing the balls. I mean, yeah, you've been involved in this industry, and he touts that a lot. How involved he has been in this industry, and what a forward thinker he is. Well, I don't know. I haven't really seen that. I mean, yeah, maybe with some of your card designs that look like they're from the 90s, which is fine. Again, we love those type of cards, but the chrome cards and things like that, sure, maybe you're innovative, whatever, but like true change doesn't come from an innovative card design, so I don't I I don't know where he was getting that from. And I'm with you, Mike. We walked the National for what, 3 days, felt like 3 months because we were walking a lot, but it was mostly moms with their kids because this hobby does cater to kids now more, which is good, but they need a parent there, and the mom has to be there making sure kids don't get taken advantage of. Like, I saw daughters, but it felt more like they were being dragged behind them by their dad, and
Mhm.
girlfriends who were on their phone while their boyfriend was standing up at the table trying to make a deal. It's like that's not going that doesn't count. Those aren't real numbers. Oh yeah, I saw a bunch of more women here. Okay, yeah, physically they might be here, but at the end of the day, they're not really collecting anything. There are products that could be put out. You said, it's not going to change from just a product. I completely agree with that. Like, it needs to be a overarching kind of thoughtful effort, right? But there are products that they could make that would probably appeal to women more than just football, basketball, baseball. There are specific products that they might be able to do. So I don't know. I don't know the answer, but again, I haven't been in the industry for 30 years. It's not my job to know the answer, and it's not my job to complain
Exactly.
about it that it's not been getting done when I've been in charge of a major card company, and he again touts his experience constantly. So put up or shut up a little bit on that one.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I like, and Brian Gray even said, like, they're like, and like you said, Mike, and Joe commented on too, like there are not products out there for the women, and one product is not going to make a difference. But he's been in the business long enough that he should have ideas what those products should be, and they should be out there. And I feel like the three of us, hate wokeness for the sake of being woke. So I don't want this to come across as a bad thing. But you think about how women have been portrayed in like comic books and how they're portrayed, like they're still making the Benchwarmers cards, right? And you think about a lot of this stuff. And so I feel like the card company, like the card companies, card companies, and think about that. I think in the same way, where women are not, there's that they don't really care about trying to get in there. But like Brian Gray even says, that's 50% of the population you're just ignoring. And that's really, really dumb. I'm glad that there is.
It comes down to a financial situation at a certain point, right? I mean,
yeah,
make definitely more money.
Right. And like I listened to another podcast this week, like they were talking about the WNBA cards, and they said, well, how many people who watch the WNBA are actually women watching it as opposed to men watching it? There's probably a lot more men watching it than women, just because women, a lot of women don't watch sports. And he said that the viewership for that is probably 50-50, if not more men than women.
There are a lot of women that watch baseball and watch football, especially. So like, I don't even know that you have to have like the mentality of, oh, let's do a women's sports product to get women to buy cards, I think is kind of like off base. Like you already have cards of a sport that women enjoy and women like to watch. So what do you need to do to get those people in? Like, that's the problem. People are thinking, what product can we put out to get women to buy it? Instead of thinking, how can we get the woman who's a football fan, who's a crazy fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, to want to buy Jalen Hurts cards that we already have? And that's what the hobby's really bad at. They're bad at including women into something that they already love. They already love these cards. They love the sports, but they're not being included. And there's something, I mean, it's just the mentality of a lot of men in this hobby. And that's going to be what's going to be hard to change, because no matter what product you're putting out, if people are still acting like assholes, those people aren't going to want to be part of it.
Whenever you see advertising, it's always a dad and his son collecting the cards, right? When you think about the advertising for cards, the image is always either, I mean, dudes with Pelican cases at a table, or it is a dad and his son. Like the more wholesome one is the dad and his son collecting together. And I don't remember ever seeing anything like a dad and his daughter, or a mom and her son, like or a mom and her daughter. Like, and that's what we need to see. I agree 100% with that take, Mike. There are a lot of women who are huge sports fans that's definitely something that they could attack.
And you can't patronize them either. Like the NFL tries to do this too,
don't make a pink
it's like, oh, we're just going to make a pink jersey. Right. Yeah. Exactly my point, EP. Like you have to, I'm sure you have the money to do some product research on what they might like and how they might like that being presented to them. Tom Brady is not going to get a woman to buy a football product, but maybe a well-known female collector who is, Olivia Munn coming out and saying, I love Marvel products. Like that might make it a little bit of a difference. I'm dating myself with her appearance at Psylocke, but something like that is going to be more impactful than a lot of the stuff that they're doing now, because right now, frankly, they're not doing anything and they're just kind of hoping it'll happen organically, it seems. And it's no matter what they tell each other, and that on those two chairs, there weren't a lot of women there. There weren't a lot of female collectors there. Yeah. They just weren't. So you can make yourself feel good about it. It ain't the truth. So they need to do a better job as leaders in the industry to do something about it. Geoff Wilson is really good about the kids zone and all that stuff. Maybe Geoff, you let your son handle that. He's pretty smart. He's probably smarter than you, in terms of cards. Maybe you work on something else and move on. I gave the kid credit. What are we shaking our heads about? So, maybe use that big brain that Mike and EP think you have and think of a way for women to get more involved in the hobby.
All right. Well, there you go. I think that's all that needs to be said.
Punctuated.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Well, hey, good job, guys. I think this video is actually No, I think
No,
it is
we're
just
going
as
on.
fun.
Yeah, we're.
Hey, we tried our best, but we'll leave it there. We'll see you next week. Take care, guys.
See you, boys.
See ya.